Hello and welcome to Dash Talk. Today's guest is Karen Xu from BlockCypher, who's the head of growth. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Mark. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. So today we're going to be talking about two recent announcements. The first being Piiko, which is a global mobile credit top-up service now accepting Dash digital cash. So some of you may be familiar with this already, as it was announced at the North American Bitcoin conference. So from that slide that we learned that it was available in 137 countries with 600 providers, including 38 mobile operators in the United States and 14 in the United Kingdom. So this is a pretty unique service, right, Karen?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
And
it gives the ability to send phone credit to friends and family all around the world. That's correct?
yes, exactly. And I was actually talking to the new CMO of Dash about how he could use it. He's moving from Spain to Switzerland and was saying, hey, this is great for me because right now I can only use a prepaid phone and now I can use Dash to top off my phone. It's perfect.
Excellent. So I hadn't actually heard of Piiko before the announcement. So I did a little bit of research, and it appears that the service has actually been around since 2014. So when did BlockCypher first get involved? Who approached who?
So it was about last year, and we heard of Pico actually because they were having trouble with Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin fees were getting too high, the transaction times were too slow for their customers, and it just didn't make sense for them to offer Bitcoin anymore. So they were seriously looking for an alternative, just like a lot of other companies. And it was actually one of the Dash. One of the early Dash people introduced Pico to us and said, hey, I've been talking to them and they need help. You know, BlockCypher, can you help? So it was a great community sort of introduction, and we were happy to help them.
Excellent. So what are the advantages of using Dash on Piiko? We know using credit cards, payments online is a risk, identity risk, but also carries fees 3 to 5%. But apart from those, is there any other advantages for using Dash for Piiko?
Yes, absolutely. So compared to, well, first of all, there's an advantage of using cryptocurrencies because of the number of countries that you can support or that you can enable, the transfer of funds, right, for without having to go in and out of any of those currencies. So that in and of itself has enormous value. Now, within the crypto world, Bitcoin was the first one that became widely adopted, but for Pico, it didn't make sense, and that was because in the last year, it just became cost prohibitive and really just unusable by many of their customers, and so they saw this impact. They saw that their customers were starting to drop off, and that's why they knew they needed to move to another solution. And so since then, using Dash has helped them regain, we're hoping that'll help them regain a lot of the business that might have gone elsewhere. But it's definitely a very strong solution, and it's one that I show to the banks many times about how liquidity is very transparent. It's very easy to get for a lot of these cryptos, because they always say to me, well, how can you get this obscure currency in Tanzania? And I say to them, well, it's very easy. Actually, using crypto, through these mobile operators, you get this liquidity in and out very quickly.
Yeah, it seems a really unique service. We've heard before, previously, with certain countries actually using mobile phone credit as a currency within itself.
Yes.
You mentioned Bitcoin briefly before. So for those that have been to the Piiko website already, there's a big notification at the top saying that Bitcoin payments have now been discontinued. So, so was there a reason behind that before BlockCypher got involved, or was this just a recent thing as I'm new to Piiko?
Yeah, so this is recent, and this is because Bitcoin payments became so difficult and cost prohibitive that Piiko had to just entirely drop Bitcoin. They were hoping for a while to be able to offer Bitcoin um, and and Dash and say other ones, but like many of our customers, they can't do that anymore. So they have to completely drop Bitcoin. And from what I understand from Dash, this is the third Dash customer that has had to do that. And I think that says a lot, about how the cryptocurrencies and the ecosystem is changing and the value that Dash brings. And it's really its role as a payments, as a transaction focused currency. Because like we were talking about before, I mean, you're talking about people who don't have, millions of dollars in their accounts, right? They have dollars in their accounts. So they can't set up a bank account easily in their country. And using a mobile phone or prepaid phone is the best way, like you're saying, to get credit or to basically exchange funds. And so I have, personally, I have a lot of friends who are from different countries in the world, and it's easier for them to say put $20 on a mobile phone for their relatives and use that as a way, to give them some funds as opposed to giving them a $20 USD. $20 bill or some other kind of currency, local currency.
I've got to say, and the operators that are supported, I just looked from the United Kingdom as that's what I'm familiar with, but even the 14 operators there, it pretty much covers the whole spectrum for us here. So, and 38 providers, mobile operators in the US as well. It's great. So although some people will just purely look at this as a phone top-up service, being able to top up credit online for friends and family living around the world is actually a really powerful tool, and I can see it as a great thing. Now, you mentioned previously before we started recording that you might have a little bit of announcement in terms of maybe perhaps a discount with Dash or something. Can you elaborate on that? Is it too early to talk about this, or is it okay to talk about?
No. Yes, absolutely. So we're offering a 20% discount for people who top off in Dash, and that'll be available starting February 5th. And so I'll be broadcasting specifically when that happens on my Twitter channel. So please look at me on Twitter, and I'll keep you updated there.
Excellent. So February the 5th. Wow. Okay. I'm going to have to get some graphics together, and perhaps we could put something together, like an article for the website, and put something out on social media, get people knowing, because that's fantastic. So that's only for Dash as well, right?
Yes. And that is only for Dash. Absolutely. And this is part of a broader campaign that we're doing with Dash. So with the Dash governance model, right, and the ability to put aside funds for marketing, business development, and so forth, we are really using this model of funding and integration, which is what we did with Piiko, but also adding with it the marketing, business development that's required to really take this off the ground to the next level. And this is one part of that. Doing social media like this is part of that, but also the actual promotional funds is a way of getting these customers getting these companies to get their users on Dash more quickly.
So this is like a short campaign. So do you think this is going to be like a 2-week discount sort of thing, or a month? Or is it like first come, first served? Or how long do you think it's going to be? Are you still working this out?
Yeah. So it'll definitely be first come, first serve. So whoever comes will get that. And it's for a limited time. Now, if it's very successful, we'll look at continuing it again. But definitely, for right now, it is a limited time promotion, first come, first serve.
No, it's a great idea. It's a great way to kickstart, get people using the service. I'm sure many people, especially in Latin America, would be very happy about this. So it'd be great to get this syndicated and translated into the other Dash international communities, because it really has a worldwide global reach. So Piiko was the first announcement that I wanted to talk about. So the second one, which was announced at the North American Bitcoin conference by Dash CEO Ryan Taylor, was about the BlockCypher partnership with, I hope I get this right, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL, as Karen kindly told me to refer to it before we started, which is much easier. So NREL is a part of the US Department of Energy. So on the presentation slide that Ryan had at the conference, it said that it settled peer-to-peer energy transactions on the blockchain. Can you explain what that means to the average person on the street?
Yeah, sure. So what that means is, let's say, Mark, you have a house and I have a house and we live next to each other, and you have a solar panel. And I would like to use, your energy because at peak moments of the day, like when I get home, I need to charge my solar powered car. And I'm going to need that extra energy that I'm not going to be able to get from the grid, or I shouldn't get from the grid because I don't want to take everybody else out of their ability to get energy. So because you have that excess energy that you've collected through your solar panel, I now, through this project, have a way of not only getting that energy, but paying you for it. And we'll pay you for it in Dash. And that's what this project is about. It's really enabling people to use renewable energy. And in this case, we're starting with, as an example, solar energy, but this would apply to any kind of renewable energy. And that's why we're working with NREL and their ability to support multiple types of energy. And so this project is really about making it easy for anyone to use the blockchain as a way of establishing a contract, between you and me for payment of that energy on any blockchain. And that's why NREL was really interested in working with BlockCyphers, because of that capability, that blockchain agnostic capability. But then we decided as the first blockchain to use was Dash. And so that's why we're going forward with Dash.
Wow. I mean, BlockCypher's done so many integrations and implementations in the past, but the size of this is enormous, right? Partnering with NREL is not something that just happens randomly overnight. So can you give a bit of backstory on how this partnership started? Like, how long have you been working together?
Oh, so we've been working together for months. So this has been a partnership months in the making, because we first met NREL about 6 months ago. BlockCypher has been working with other government agencies, such as the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. We've worked with them on a couple of projects. And with the U.S. Department of Energy and with NREL, it was definitely an interest of theirs to use the blockchain in some way, because they felt that the adoption of renewable energy resources depended on using a technology that made it easy for people to exchange this energy for payment, right? Peer-to-peer, because people aren't just going to do things out of the goodness of their hearts, right? Yes, we want to do that, and there are a lot of people who do that, but most people, generally, we're economically motivated, and so there's got to be some incentive for exchanging that energy, and so that's where the use of the blockchain came in. It provided a decentralized way of making it easy for people to exchange that energy, and really would enable then much faster adoption. So you could think about it in the U.S. Or in the U.K., where we have regulation, or we have a lot of incentives in place to use renewable energy. That's one big use case, right? In the U.K., for example, there's a lot to stop using petrol. I think it is in 2040 or something like that. And so there's going to have to be something else to take the place of using petrol. And if there's going to be so many cars, there are going to be so many cars that will have to be powered through some kind of grid, using renewable energy will be a much better way than just taking down the grid every time you need to, power up your vehicle. And so that's why we're looking at using, renewable energy as an additional, source of power, of electricity, and then using the blockchain and Dash specifically as a way to exchange payment for that energy.
Wow, it's very impressive, and a huge, and just the implications of it. It affects everyone, and this is only going to need to scale. It's a huge operation. So I think, just for clarity for people watching this that may be hearing about this for the first time, just to be clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is a new project for experimental development and research purposes. So when do you think this will actually come to market? Is there like a future roadmap? Is there an objective? What is there anything you can share on that front?
Yes. So the reason why we're working with NREL is because they're a U.S. government group which has all of the integrated technologies. They have in their labs a way of proving that this can work across the meters, the home energy management systems, the devices, everything that's required technically to get the energy, from one place to another, and to show that it can work not only through these devices and the hardware and the grid, right, but also by using and leveraging the blockchain. That's where BlockCypher comes in, right? Our blockchain technology. Now, in terms of rollout, what we want to do is first prove that this is possible, that this is not just some, something I did in my garage, right? This is something we're doing in a US-backed government entity. And then we want to commercialize it and take it to a number of regions around the world, right? So we can start with certain communities here in the US, in the UK, but then ultimately we would really, and this is where I wanted to go initially, was really take it to other countries and nations where they can own their own grid. And, whether it's Africa or some other developing countries, where now they can actually have not only the energy source, but a way of financing that themselves without having to rely, on someone else, on another government or, another company.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a sign of things to come. Energy is such a fundamental necessity for our daily needs, such as our homes, even our jobs, and we're seeing an expanding market just in electrical vehicles, for example. So, is this ongoing partnership with BlockCypher just the sign of bigger things to come? Are there other things down the pipeline you're working on? Because this just seems like this project is just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Yes, we are. And so we have some active utilities that we are working with right now, some active projects or planning sessions that we're doing with utilities. We haven't finalized those yet, but we are very interested in getting this partnership going next with utilities as well as the communities they serve. So we are very open to anyone in the Dash community who has ideas, who's interested, who could introduce us to other utilities and the communities they serve to get these things going, in production and in live homes.
Excellent. So those were the two announcements we wanted to talk about. Now, why I have Karen here, the great opportunity of having Karen here, I spoke to some of my colleagues about asking Karen some questions regarding about BlockCypher. And one question consistently kept popping up. So I've kind of put a lot of questions together in this. So recently, the Dash community had news that we've got a new head or director of business development, Bradley Zastrow, formerly of American Express. So can you tell me what has the BlockCypher relationship with Bradley been like to date? Do you speak to him often? Do you work together as a team? Just for I think the Dash community and masternode owners would just like some kind of insight, and they're interested in how this relationship with Core and BlockCypher works.
Yeah, so it's been great. So I have to say, since the beginning, since last year, which seems like a long time ago, we've worked closely with different members of the Dash community. And having Bradley come on is great because he has that experience working with larger customers, with corporations, because of his time at Amex. And so we work, and since he's joined on a regular basis, we have regular calls, meetings. We met at the Miami conference a couple weeks ago and talked about our strategy. We then followed that up with a bunch of meetings here in the Bay Area to potential clients. And so we're really working out what our joint messaging is, and this is joint messaging for the future because it's always evolving, right? And also how we'll work together on future integrations. So I'm very excited about what's coming, in this new year, and working with Bradley and all the members of the Dash team.
Excellent. Good to hear. Right, now I kind of got a bit of a technical question for you, but I know it's going to be easy for you. So it's a two-part question. So first, what's BlockCypher's current bandwidth to assist in integrating new projects in the Dash ecosystem? And secondly, what is the ideal candidate for integration? What kinds of businesses are easy or best fit for you? Who's your ideal customer?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, our bandwidth for supporting any customer is really good. And that is because of the way our structure, our fundamental architecture is. So BlockCypher was built from the ground up to support multiple blockchains, including Dash. And we run on AWS, so we can scale linearly. Basically, as a company, you don't have to worry about, am I going to get enough hardware to support my thousands of customers or hundreds of thousands of customers tomorrow? No, you don't have to worry about that because we scale to support any volume. And because we're in AWS, that means there are data centers around the world to support whatever country you are in or want to go into. And on top of that, we have a core team that supports 5 nines in uptime, and that's the highest level in the industry. That means 99.999% uptime, which is higher than many of the exchanges that some people use, right? So we're very proud of that, and that's also why a number of these exchanges will use BlockCypher. So we can scale to support any amount of volume that people want, and we've hadn't had any trouble so far in doing that. Now, to answer your second question about the ideal customer, this is also where BlockCypher adds a lot of value to Dash. So the reason why companies will use BlockCypher for Dash is often because, especially now, they're looking to get into the world of crypto. And I'm talking about companies that are digital payment providers. They're companies that may be doing payments for other things, using credit card, but now they want to add crypto. And they start off oftentimes not knowing which crypto to add. They just know they need to add crypto. And so our ability to support Dash, as well as Bitcoin and others, gets that foot in the door because they can say, all right, I know I need to use crypto. I don't know which one yet, but I know BlockCypher, you can help me. And so then we go in and we say, all right, what are your use cases? What are you looking to use this crypto for? And that's when we find out if it's a high transaction, payment focused use case, which in many cases it is. Then that's where we say, well, there's this there's Dash, there's this relationship with it. We have Dash where we can help you not only with the integration, but also with the commercialization part, with the marketing part of it, the business development part of it. Then that's when they get very serious, and we're able to take off from there.
Yeah, that's really good, because I think a lot of times in the community, obviously they've got so many ideas and suggestions for business integrations and business partnerships, because we want people to integrate Dash. But I think in terms for like BlockCypher, in terms of a framework, I think sometimes when people get an idea, they're kind of like, well, I don't know if that's right to send to BlockCypher or not, because of the nature that you're in. Like, they don't know what the best route is. So what would be your ideal dream business integration partnership? Obviously don't give anything away in case you're going after anyone, but just in general. Yeah. So you're saying like they would have to obviously be coders, developers, because that comes with the territory, right? But in terms of like services and utilities, that seems to be the kind of avenue that I'm sensing from you. That would be your kind of dream scenario.
Right. And so where we're looking right now, and this is something we talked about with Dash as part of the long-term strategy or I should say the strategy for this year, right, is given where the ecosystem is, we just need to be able to get people liquidity, to get people in and out, or I should say into Dash. And so to get people into Dash, it means signing up these payment providers, these guys who provide, these companies that provide services to enable people to use Dash for different services, but also to basically put their money in Dash. So Piiko is a great example, right? Using the mobile phone as a way to get into Dash. NREL is another example, using energy peer-to-peer payments as a way of getting into Dash and using your Dash, right, that you have. So that's what we're focused on, is getting people into the ecosystem using Dash, and we're seeing a lot of interest in this area.
Excellent. Do you ever have to actually reject any ideas? Because blockchain's become such a buzzword that we hear of all these ICOs and stuff, but a lot of the time it's actually about how you're going to use the blockchain. Is this like a frustration of yours, or is it something that just doesn't actually come into your line of work? It's not an issue. Is it an issue?
Well, so I mean, we do. Okay, well, I'd say first of all, we support anybody who wants to use the blockchain, but definitely there are a lot of ideas that are kind of out there, and that's also why, for example, with NREL, we were really focused on being a blockchain agnostic provider, and then focusing on crypto as a blockchain to start with, because you need to have a broad base of people who, in your community. And a lot of these ICOs, they may sound exciting, but they're going to have a limited audience. And as we all know, in order to have that mass adoption, you have to have critical mass. And so when we talk to a lot of companies, they, are asking us, what's the trading volume, right? For these little ICOs, there's really not that much there. So it's harder to get that, that community going.
Yeah, I think
if you don't have much to start with. Yeah.
I think it's a great, not only confidence boost, but just a show that you're moving in the right direction. When you have a sort of government entity that's actually looking at utilizing this technology for the better with a long-term future outlook, it tells you everything that you need to know. So for me, that's really exciting. So thank you for talking to us about NREL. The 20% Piiko thing is fantastic as well. So 5th of February, I'm gonna have to make sure I syndicate that out to the community so that they know. I have one last question, and it's a big one. Are you ready?
Yes.
You are. Karen, can you please come back and talk again to us in the future about future BlockCypher integrations? I love having you on.
Absolutely. Come back anytime.
Excellent. I know you're working on so much stuff, and there's so many more things to come out in the next coming weeks and months. So For those watching this, Karen's going to be a regular person coming on, so get used to Karen, and it's a good thing. So all this great stuff happening in I kind of feel like a bit spoiled right now because there's so much going on with Dash, and BlockCypher's doing amazing right now. So thank you, Karen, for talking to me today.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, if you want to learn more about BlockCypher, their website is blockcypher.com. Their Twitter account is @BlockCypher, which is nice and easy. And Karen's Twitter account is
@KarenSchumar, which is on the screen there. And looking forward to keeping in touch.
Excellent. And that's it for this episode of Dash Talk. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions for Karen, leave them in the comment section below. Stay dashy, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Stay
Cool.
dashy, Mark.
Stay dashy, yo.